So we are here tonight for our beautiful uncovering of the third pearl of wisdom. Hi, Kathy, Sushant. So nice to see everyone. So great to be here tonight. I couldn't think of another place that I'd rather be than here with all of you, our little family that we've created. And tonight we're going to be fortunate to hear from Mynoo on the third pearl of wisdom, which is dismantling disruption. How fascinating that will be. So I think we all have had enough disruption in 2020. So this is going to be great information and tools that we can use. Hi, and there is Mynoo. So good to see you, Mynoo.
Hi, so good to be here.
So I'm going to handle the back room, Mynoo, and just continue to let people in. And look at where you are. You're going to have to share with us.
Yes, this is my sister's apartment in Dubai, right in downtown Dubai. So it's got just, I think, the right mix of bling. Feels very cozy and comfortable as well as uplifting and abundant. So here I am. It's the real thing. It's not a Zoom backdrop.
I was going to say, everyone's going to want to get that, but they're like, how do we get that backdrop? And you look so beautiful tonight, Mynoo. You match your backdrop, or your backdrop matches you perfectly.
Yeah, I'm so used to having a plain backdrop, so I can wear all this color and everything. And here it was like, it's really going to clash. So.
Quite elegant, quite beautiful. We have such a quite an evening tonight with the third pearl of wisdom. I'm going to continue to let people in. Mynoo.
Okay, so here we are, the third pearl of wisdom. It's dismantling disruptions. And I mean, for me, I am such a rebel that sometimes if there is no disruption, I create it, you know? So it's like, okay, why dismantle disruption? And I really got to understand, as I was working through this particular pearl of wisdom, what is disruption and the impact it has on our life. And the way I understood what disruption is by really understanding the impact it has on our life. You know, each one of us is born with a very clear vision that our soul being has for taking on this human form. So there is a cause that we have chosen to realize. We may not call it cause, but it's like these are the kind of experiences this soul being is going to have in this lifetime. And that's how it begins. And then disruptions come in. And the first step to understanding how to dismantle disruption is really to understand what a disruption is and how to recognize it. So as I worked my way through, I had a very specific set of intentions that I had created for myself by the 15th of December, which many of you heard me say was a vantage point date, the last vantage point date of 2020. And out of the 5 things that I had created for myself, 2 were going to be there. I could feel it already. The other 3 just didn't know where they stood. You know, I didn't know whether that would even occur. And it was quite easy to see that it wasn't really that big an issue if it didn't occur, because, you know, it could occur next year. However, we had the power of 2020. You know, we had the 100x multiplier available to us of 2020 and the further accentuation of that. So I decided to play the game of the 15th of December, you know, getting to a new vantage point with all of my intentions fulfilled. And even in declaring that I'm going to play the game and I'm going to play full out, the universe always just comes together and supports us. And that's what happened. You know, the universe and all the resources in it just literally came together. And like literally sleep was non-essential. That's what happened. Vitality reached a new level. And it's like, even if I wanted to sleep, I didn't feel I could. You know, I just felt I learned a new form of resting where it's as if I was resting throughout the day, like 24/7 was a time of rest. And yet I was out and about, not necessarily out and about, but out and about in terms of doing the work that I was doing. And very close to the 15th of December, I'd even gone to Pune with Sushant and Simi in their beautiful home that many of you have heard me do the transmissions from. So that's when I realized that, my gosh, this thing called disruption is, and it's literally, it's an energy form. Everything is an energy form. But even the experience of disruption, it's like a being in itself. It's like it's there in your face, in front of you. Even if you think it is something that you might have put away to one side, disruption is, if when you hold it in you, it's there. It's just always present. It goes with you. So when I saw that, I thought, okay, maybe, you know, if I started noticing what the disruptors are, and I could only list 2 or 3 of those, you know, including my elaborate form of cooking, and all of that was, I thought, a disruption. And it's only when I became intentional to realize the intentions that I had set for the 15th of December, did I understand what I call as the 7 steps to dismantling disruption. And the first 3 steps were really a benefit of hindsight. I didn't know that I was actually doing that. You know, after the 3rd step, I realized, okay, these are 3 very distinct things that I have done. I'm on a journey of the 7 steps again. So then I started conscientiously allowing for the next step to come through and the next step to come through. And 100% of all the 5 things that I said I wanted, that I intentioned to be accomplished by the 15th of December got accomplished. So let's look at what are these 7 steps of dismantling disruption. The first thing is an understanding. The first step is understanding disruption, your disruptors, understanding your disruptors. And where do you look for that? How do you even make a start to look for, you know, what are my disruptors? I like to use the lens of full spectrum living in arriving at this in a methodical way. So I start with physical. And, you know, so on the one, so let's say if you were to draw 2 columns, and you don't have to do it like that, you could even use the top of the page, but I have 2 columns just because I have several intentions. So on the left-hand side, I write my intentions under physical, and on the right-hand side, I list the disruptors. So under physical, what are my intentions? What are your intentions? And on the right-hand side, you start writing your disruptors. So physical could be your diet, could be your level of exercise, could be your level of sleep, could be a whole variety of things. The kind of food you eat, availability of that food, very physical, tactile. You can touch and feel. That's all that goes in the physical. And then the interesting thing is, when I start listing my disruptors, I do a full spectrum analysis of my disruptors too. So I go, okay, what are my physical disruptors to these intentions? What are my mental disruptors to these intentions? Emotional, spiritual, social, environmental. So we're starting to formulate a matrix of full spectrum living, very practical one. So for example, with my physical disruptors, my mental was a disruptor, was that complete desire to feel mentally stimulated, even as I'm, fulfilling my physical intentions. So just given that we can't go out so much, at least when I'm in Mumbai, I can't very easily go out for walks. So I'll end up walking in the house, not necessarily mentally stimulating. So very easy for that to become a disruptor. And absolutely, I'm not pushing myself because I'm walking on the same flat surface, backwards and forwards. And then when I look, when you have established the first step of discovering your disruptors is to know what your intentions are. There are so often we don't know what our intentions are. And then do it piece by piece by piece. Look at all the disruptors on the mental side. When I look at discovering my disruptors, there is that intention of feeling intellectually stimulated, enjoying an intellectual exchange, experiencing intellectual fulfillment, stretching my mental capacities, building my repertoire of knowledge. All of those are intentions. And then, time comes in as a disruptor. Not having enough time. Or feeling that there is a missing physical interaction with other human beings as often as I would like it to. And that's a disruptor. Well, even acknowledging all of that, you can, if you did nothing else, if you didn't follow any other step, you just did this step. Once you've acknowledged what your disruptors are, you can do something about it. You can put something in place. And you can even see how small things have become really big things because they're disrupting so much. It's a perfect time for us to be talking about the 7 steps of dismantling disruptions. As we get closer to deciding our 2021 resolutions and all of that, resolutions are a contributor to the intentions. So that's step number 1, understanding what these disruptors are, discovery of disruptors, and doing it in a full spectrum way, and looking at full spectrum analysis of the different disruptors. I'm going into this level of detail because it served me massively. For a period of time, my business partner Gaurav and I were together, and we were working on some specific projects at the time. And we applied this whole analysis to disruptors that exist even in our partnership. And the discovery of disruptors was all that was needed for that disruption to go away, really. But when you don't acknowledge it, it's there. And then it multiplies. Remember, whatever is there, it's there in the form of a vibration, and it multiplies automatically. So totally, but if I hadn't started from myself, in this concerted way, it might have been difficult to go to the level of depth that I was able to when Gaurav and I were working together. And what we realized was any disruptions in the business and the projects, because we are doing social projects as well as business together. Any disruptions in those areas were really only coming from disruptions that existed in our partnership. So, rather than go in and create a project of dismantling and disruption in one of my businesses or one of my projects, it was so much easier for the two of us to discover the disruptions and address those between us and notice whatever that might exist in the business just totally disappear. And it did. The second step to dismantling disruption is all about communication. It's and I call it, getting a whole and completeness in your communication. One of the key disruptors, one of the key contributors to disruption is unsaid communication. Unsaid communication will show up again and again. It's one of the root causes, of creating a world that does not work for anyone. So this is really discovering for yourself. So the first three are all about discovering. This one is about discovering where are the unsaid communications. Unsaid communication is not only what you communicate to someone, through your vocal cords. You may have formed a way of listening to someone based on your past experiences and just really got used to that this person always talks this way, or this person says something and does something else, or whatever it might be, good or bad. This one just can't say anything wrong. This one can't do anything wrong. Even that, and the impact it has very quickly starts to multiply in terms of the impact of unsaid communications. So discovering all of your unsaid communications is extremely, extremely powerful in dismantling disruption. I mean, it's very interesting. I talk about how when I allow intuition to flow through, the words are exact. The word that has been used is dismantling disruption, as opposed to destroying disruption, removing disruption. Those are not the words that have been used. It's literally about dismantling. And you will see every step as you dismantle it, you feel there's a lightness of being that starts to come in. You start to feel a burden that you may not even be aware of that you may be carrying, starting to just melt away. As you dismantle it. Because in dismantling disruption, you are getting to understand the nuances of any blocks that might come in the way. So here what you're doing is you're looking at unsaid communications. Now here the way I do it for myself to really get the thoroughness of unsaid communications. I mean, I do a series of concentric circles, and each circle represents, people that are closest to me, projects that are closest to me. Sometimes the unsaid communications are not even to do with any person. They may be to do with an assignment that you may be working on. or a project that you may be working on, or something that you've taken on to deliver to another. So I draw these concentric circles. So once I have my, my circle map, I then go into, okay, what are the unsaid communications in each of those? Now, some of those unsaid communications are to be communicated. And there are others just by allowing yourself to declare it, they stop being unsaid. And this is where, your inner circle is you. And then the circle goes, the one that is in the center around which you're going to draw the other concentric circles, the one in the center is you. So what are the unsaid communications you have to yourself? That ambition that I once had, it doesn't matter anymore. That could be one of them. If only I was luckier than others in the way I was brought up, could be another. If only I had done more, like in my case, for me and my dad to have a great communication. We did at one point, and then it stopped. So I wish I had done more about it. It's an unsaid communications. It creates a whole host of disruptions. The third step is the step that enables you to go deeper in terms of unsaid communications, go deeper in terms of discovering your disruptors. And this is, again, a stock take of unfulfilled expectations. It all feels very like a little bit of a downer. But, having done this, and you don't do it just once, you just do it. You can have a disruption week, dismantling disruption weekend. Just like you would go on a detox retreat, you go on a dismantling disruption retreat. And you will notice as you go through each of these steps, you feel lighter, you feel more joyous. Just even the process of uncovering and declaring anchors you in your truth. That is what is happening. Your breath pattern changes. The resonance in your voice changes. And you literally start becoming like that, the Russian doll that we used to get, which it would bounce, you push it down and it would bounce back, you push it down and bounce back. And you had to literally, you whatever force you used still wasn't able to hold it down. You had to literally break it apart for it not to bounce back. And in doing this, you can imagine, here's what is happening. As you start uncovering and discovering these elements that we've talked about so far, and now we're going to the unfulfilled expectations. Each of those, each line that you might have written in any of those 3 lay of the land lists adds a load on you, adds some more load on you, adds some more load on you. So it's like the Russian doll that has the ability to bounce back. And how do you keep it? How do you push it in any particular direction? You put a load on it, right? So here we are, we keep loading ourselves. And then we are desperately trying to bounce back each time. And sometimes we come right back. Other times we come sort of a little bit, but our center of gravity is gone. So we keep tripping and falling. And sometimes we push ourselves so hard and come all the way back. We've used up all our resources, and it takes so much out of us to get that vitality back. I haven't quite got the ratio yet. I'm in the process of calculating it. Like one disruption What's the impact of that in terms of what it takes for us to be able to move forward? It's pretty amazing that we still keep moving forward. That just shows the power that we have. So here, step number 3, discovering, well, it's not discover, it's literally like declaring. Here this is not a discovery, it's a declaration of all of the unfulfilled expectations. Do it in a full spectrum way again. Physical, mental, emotional, social, spiritual, and environmental. And here's a ratio that I have gotten, which is 1 unsaid communication results in 100 unfulfilled expectations. So if you've got 10 unsaid communications and you've got 10 unfulfilled expectations, look more. And here's the thing, you are doing this not to beat yourself about it, not to beat yourself up about it. You're doing this as an acknowledgement that that is so. By acknowledging, so much of this stuff that we are writing down, we hold within us. It's somehow not kosher to talk about this stuff. And this is what takes us away from honoring our own worthiness. By even declaring that, okay, these are all the unfulfilled expectations that I'm still present to. You're honoring your own worthiness. There isn't anything good or bad about that. Everyone has them. And it doesn't mean you drop everything and run after any particular expectation. The idea is to get to a point where the disruptions go away, are dismantled, and you can move forward in a frictionless way. Don't compromise on your list of unfulfilled expectations. Step number 4 is the acknowledgement of how you're feeling about everything that you have discovered, declared, uncovered. A number of emotions will rise. A number of actions you might have already taken as a result. So this step number 4 is about acknowledgement. And it's about acknowledging all that you feel right now as you have done the first 3 steps. And, here I use the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful. I just really go into looking at, am I feeling bad in any way? What does that bad feeling feel like? Is there a choking feeling? Is there a little bit of, rumbling in my tummy that's going on? Is there an unusual flutter in my heart that's happening? Have I got a pain suddenly develop somewhere? So acknowledge all of that, how you are feeling. I used the 7 steps of dismantling disruption as a way of doing a mega purge and also a massive acknowledgement. So it was as if there was a dim light that was, or just a pilot light flickering in the context of my own dignity, I turned that into a spotlight. And I really embraced and honored my own worthiness by giving this time. This dismantling disruptions, to me, turned out to be the juiciest and a very pragmatic, practical me time. And the great thing is you don't have to do it throughout the day. You can allocate a segment of time and do this. So here in step number 4, you're acknowledging your feelings. Once you've acknowledged all that you are feeling, you just go into the step number 5. And step number 5 is an unconditional acceptance of all that is. You'll be surprised when you go into step number 5 and you embark on unconditional acceptance of all that is, so much stuff still shows up. You know, in the form of yes, but, if only. You know, it's like little conditions that show up. In the context of dismantling disruption, you know, notice all that. These 7 steps really build up your radar. You know, attune your radar to anything that could be a potential disruptor. Because you hold one disruptor in place, however small or big it may be. It shows up in a whole variety of renditions, in creating dysfunctional patterns and unfulfilling experiences in many areas of your life. So really going deep and, you know, allowing it to emerge and acknowledging it is important. And a lot of that you would already have done in the first 4 steps. So step 5 is unconditional acceptance of all that is. And this is a point where I also say to people, you literally stand up, you know, and take a step forward. And when you stand up and you take a step forward, you will experience a lightness of being. You will be so surprised that that step forward will be a longer step than you've ever taken. You will feel like you're taller than you've ever been. By choosing this unconditional acceptance of all that is. I like to do it thoroughly, so I would go into full spectrum living again, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, social, and environmental, just because I like to experience that completeness about this. Before I move on from the step number 5, you know, I might have gone through one layer of, okay, fine, I unconditionally accept all that is. I then go into the next layer of, is there anything that remains that still has a little condition attached to it? I will accept this if. And if that is the case, where you go with that is, you know, how do I feel about that? And then you go back and consciously, unconditionally accept what is. Dismantling disruption is a very conscious exercise. It's a conscious matter of choice. And in this step is where you're exercising the choice of unconditionally accepting what is, and now you're ready to move forward. And we go to step number 6. I call it the crossing the threshold step. These pearls of wisdom, I could easily spend an hour talking about disruption and giving you lots and lots of preaching good advice on dismantling disruption. And that will be helpful in itself. My guidance with these sessions that we do every Thursday evening and Friday morning for us here in Asia is for them to be very practical and very implementable, so that you take on, in a practical way, not just bathing or basking in the aha of this session, but actually you have some tools that you can practically implement and move forward. Step number 6 is crossing the threshold. And initially, when you are working with your disruptors, you literally wake up in the morning and after your morning routine, choose to consciously cross the threshold, create an action, create something that feels like you've crossed the threshold. And now we go into a very different level of observation. And here, the first of the two steps that are all about observation. In this step, you are observing the support that you already have. You're observing the support that you can garner easily. The support begins with you. Remember, in my world, your world begins with you and it ends with you. And everything else is just a reflection of you. So you begin with you, always. When we don't begin with us and we start looking for what support do we have outside of us, it's very finite. And we'll often see more support that we don't have. But when you begin with you and you say, okay, what support do I have? I have my physical body. I have my body that has become very used to giving me a clear indication of when it's on, when it's off, when it's yummy, when it's yucky. So I can make choices. And it was a huge breakthrough for me to acknowledge the nuances of my physical body as my support structure, to realizing what my soul is here to accomplish and cause and make happen. So in this crossing the threshold, once you've crossed the threshold, really what happens is the deeper you go into how supported you already are, it's like a wall that starts to rise from below. Many of you have done my putting the past in the past meditation, and there a wall comes down from the top. And it just like, all your past is behind you. Here, what you're doing is you're literally, that the wall, once you cross the threshold starts to rise and becomes this humongous wall behind which lies all the disruptions that you've already acknowledged. So they can no longer touch you. There'll be new ones that you might create, should you choose to. But that load that you had, the load's lifted. That's what happens with crossing the threshold. So this step number 6 is all about threshold, crossing the threshold and acknowledging the support that you already have, how supported you are. Step number 7 is another observation. And this is an observation of the resources that you already have. Resources that you can tap into, resources that you have access to, resources that lie unutilized. Use the full spectrum lens again, full spectrum living lens again, and look at physically, what resources do I already have? It could be your health. It could be a particular skill that you have. It could be the knowledge that you possess about nutrition. So literally look at what resources do I already have? What resources do I have access to? What resources have been lying dormant? I was amazed at my list of dormant resources and shocked in a pleasant way. And don't forget the universe. Don't forget your own celestial family that you might already know about. Some of you, I have introduced you to your guides and guardian angels. There are others I've introduced you to your ascended master team. Don't forget them. They are your resources as much as you yourself. So this is the takeoff, like step number 6 is crossing the threshold. Step number 7 is the takeoff. Disruptions dismantled. So once you've got all the resources that you have, it's time to step into what is it that you are here to cause and make happen. Now, always a good idea to begin with you. Again, I began with me living an extraordinary life with ease, grace, and joy. That's how I began. And I ran that for nearly, 9 years before I took on what I call as my gig on the planet of expecting and accepting miracles as the norm for humans and humanity. Remember, your world is you. It begins with you, it ends with you. Everything in between is all, and it's all a reflection of you. It is not about you, it is a reflection of you. So these are the 7 steps of dismantling disruption. And the interesting thing, there was a point where I received a very clear understanding of the difference between what is a block, what is a barrier, and what is an obstacle. We talk about, we have certain blocks in our lives, things that block us, certain barriers. What I understood is that a block is really us being stubbornly attached to a prescribed way of doing something. A barrier is us attempting to move forward by looking at the rear view mirror. So at best, you will get to what the rear view mirror shows you, and quite often you will just have an accident, won't be able to move forward. An obstacle is us putting what was called, it was the phrase that was used was comforting disruptions in a way that prevents us from living our true potential. So in following these 7 steps of dismantling disruptions, your barriers, blocks, obstacles just disappear. And you can reconnect to your resolve and literally take off and fly. And once you've done this exercise thoroughly, and you have an opportunity over the next few days in this holiday period to follow these 7 steps, get yourself to a point where you are ready to take off and fly. 2021 is the year where the energy is flowing in flow. And everything that we are doing between now and the end of December, just before the calendar turns, is to have you experience what it's like being in flow. So use this opportunity. Use the time between now and the next Thursday or next Friday morning that we get together again to have done this exercise. And there'll be several layers of it, but if you just go ahead and do it, and you've already crossed the threshold, the disruptions that you would already have identified would have gone into the past. You have a new lightness of being. There's a new pathways of where your life force can move. You will be in a very different place already. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey. So having said all of that, have a few minutes left to also share some gifts that Saint Nicholas has brought for us from the North Pole. So I am going to allow that to come through. I'm going to get into gallery view now so I can see all of you. So Renelle, the gift from Saint Nicholas, the gift from Santa Claus, the gift from the North Pole. Is the gift from the North Pole is an invocation of your light. Like it's being invoked right now. It's an invocation of your own light, like a North Star. It's like the light that is being invoked in you is illuminating your pathway. And it's time for you to walk your path and literally stop supporting anything and everything and anyone else in theirs. As you walk your path, you will create such a powerful surge of a very unique intuitive connection that when you do support anyone else, your support is so precisely anchored that they experience the transformation that they are looking for. So whilst it may seem a little self-centered for me to say, it's time for you to walk your path and stop supporting anyone and anything else in theirs, by doing so, you will bring about a complete transformation in a laser-sharp way, exactly where it's required. And that light in you is being invoked right now. So that's a gift, Nicholas, for you.
Thank you, Mynoo.
You're welcome. So Tokes. Oh, we look at those beautiful lights. So the gift from Saint Nicholas for you, Tokes.
Thank you.
The gift from Saint Nicholas for you is a gift of companionship. And do these 7 steps, Tokes, of dismantling disruptions, because 2021 opens the doorway to a very beautiful companion, the one that you have been prepared for, the one that your relationship with Patrick, opened up for you. And it's time for you to just step out, cross the threshold, and be open to receiving, because that gift is available.
Thank you.
I'm excited too.
I'm working on not crying.
You don't need to. Allow it to flow. Thank you, Tokes. Asha? The gift from Saint Nicholas for you is it's actually, it's as if St. Nicholas is taking away all of these disruptors that you're going to identify and wrap them up and take them out of your orbit. And not only take them out of your orbit, they go out of your field, they actually go out of the planet's energy as well. So you cannot go back and access those disruptors again.
Thank you very, very much.
That's the gift.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you. I sent one question. Please reply that just now.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, Vince. Okay, the gift from St. Nicholas for you is a gift of unbridled joy. So these 7 steps of dismantling disruptions is one of the most profound pieces for you. Vince, take it on and just do it in a thorough way, just like you do everything. Be very Germanic about it. Celebrate that Germanness about you. Okay? And the gift that is there, it's a gift of unbridled joy. Not just joy, not just happiness. It's unbridled joy. Okay? Wow, Vince, a new one. You literally will cross the threshold. It's great. We have lots of time, so that's great. Yanni, 2:30 in the morning.
It's 222, 222.
222, oh my God, it's a very powerful number. It's a number of transformation. You know, like complete transmutation. It's like literally like, rebirthing. It's a rebirthing number. The gift from St. Nicholas for you, Yanni. Well, I don't know whether you like it or not, but it's really an opening of a new settlement, which is like literally like settlement in terms of moving your home, like really uprooting yourself from where you have been and catapulting you to a new place. In every way, like physically, there'll be a change of place. Mentally, you'll be in a different space. Emotionally, there is an amazing, connectivity that is coming in for you. And spiritually will be the spiritedness of you. You'll recognize the power that you have, It's like one of those wonderful things that you and I share about the last airbender. It'll be the avatar revelation of you. That's available. And you don't have to do anything on the social or the environmental side. All of that is just going to just slot in place. But do the 7 steps of dismantling your disruptions, because that is what has held you. And you're meant to catapult to a new physical location and rise from there. It's time for you to be in a different energy altogether than where you are right now. Peterborough, right?
Yeah.
So, wow, thank you for showing up. Amazing. And you're going to enter the space of showing off and be seen. Showing off not in a narcissistic way, but you will be seen. And it's time for you to do that. Be in the forefront of your life. And that is the key to your aliveness. So the door has been unlocked by St. Nicholas this year.
Thank you, Mynoo. Thank you, St. Nick.
Great. Okay, let's see, who else do we have? So, so is it Sushant? Is it Simi? Is it the two of you together? The gift from St. Nicholas is for you together. And the gift is a gift of, it's a gift of raunchy romance. It's a gift that will literally, like any physical ailments that you might have experienced up to this point in time, they just like disappear, and you'll wonder what happened to them. And they've been disruptors. Some you've kept consciously in place, some have multiplied, because you've kept something else in place. And, romance is a way of life. It's really about being able to let our hair down, being able to laugh, being able to move and share and, enjoy the aliveness. So it's like the raunchy romance is an adventure of aliveness that you co-create. Your relationship is literally being moved and into a realm where you become co-creators of aliveness. Co-creators of your experiences, co-creators of your communication, co-creators of your creations, all sorts of stuff. I mean, it's just going to be it's just so magical. So allow yourself to receive this gift. Some of it may feel like, oh, not appropriate at this age. Well, co-create it so it feels appropriate. So do the 7 steps so that you really do, dismantle them and cross the threshold. It's such a wonderful time to be able to do that together. And I would love to perform a soul union ceremony with you next year in 2021. Such a beautiful, beautiful life ahead. It's a rebirthing of your relationship together. I'm getting very excited. The real musty piece is shining in me. Hey, Karen. The gift from Saint Nicholas for you is a gift of knowing that you are held, that you are supported. It's like an inner knowing will rise in you, and that will open you up to allowing yourself to step into the magic of you. So feel that, as you burn the candle and, have the fragrance of cinnamon and apple and clove fill the house. Just feel yourself being wrapped into this cozy blanket of warmth and love and care and unconditional acceptance from Saint Nicholas. This is a great time over the next few days to really land into the wholeness of you. And one more person. Tejasvi. The gift from Saint Nicholas is a new incarnation, a vision of a new incarnation of your emergence into the world. So, complete the 7 steps of dismantling disruption as quickly as you can, and then just get that board out and make that your vision board. And allow, just simply allow, don't think about it. Just allow the expression of the vision of you in your new incarnation to flow. It builds on everything that you have experienced so far and goes way beyond your even the most wildest imagination. And I can give you a little clue. It is actually something very strongly to do with show business. And it's show business that connects different communities around the world. It's in that region. So please allow yourself to experience the vision of the new incarnation of you. You will go deeper, you will go more expansive if you complete the 7 steps of dismantling disruption. And thank you for all that you have done and sacrificed over the years. No more sacrifice required. It's done. Cross the threshold. Those are the gifts that I am able to share at this time. And Catherine, I bring you in and we can go ahead and start completing.
Wow, thank you, Mynoo. It's always such a gift. Tonight has been such a gift to receive all this wisdom. And I know that everyone probably has taken a lot of notes, and you're going to continue to review those. And I'd love for us to just share, I know we're out of time, but just that one word or sentence of what you're present to right now on this Christmas Eve, and with all of this beautiful new wisdom that's been shared with us tonight. So if you'd like to just put your words in, I want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. What a wonderful time it is to be going into 2021. I know we are so ready for that. And thank you, Mynoo, for being our guide and our mentor on this incredible journey. 108, so we have 105 more to go. So there will be many, many more opportunities. So if you'd like to go ahead and just continue with your words, we have Sushant with love and joy. And renewal is Renel's word. We have gratitude. So grateful, Mynoo, for you assisting us on the path to pure love and joy. Great momentum into 2021. Wow. Love. Thank you, Mynoo. Happy holy days to all. Blast off. 3, 2, 1, blast off. And we have gratefulness, calm, love, and merry wishes to all. Knowing, flowing in the flow. So great. Support and possibilities. Encouragement. Majestic and miraculous. Looking forward to crossing my threshold. Thank you. And love, gratitude, peace, and glorious wishes to all. What a beautiful blessing. And from Simi, love and joy. Profound love, unstoppable stand and commitment for thriving human beings, humanity, and the planet. Lovely, lovely, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you all. Have a wonderful celebration and great time celebrating you during these holidays. Lots of love.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, yes.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Merry Christmas and thank you.
Thank you.
Sending you abundance of love.
Thank you, Mynoo.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Illum-
Ashaji, I'll
And
answer
an
your-
illuminated Christmas.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Christmas, everyone. Happy New Year.
And to you, Catherine.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
And
Christmas.
Be in the light.
Enjoy.
Be safe, be happy, be merry. Be love.